Hello, everybody. Good morning, and welcome to our first webinar, Seeds of the Mediterranean. My name is Custódio Correia. I'm the coordinator of the Portuguese CAP Network. It's a pleasure to be with you today. I welcome you on behalf of the Mediterranean cluster and the CAP networks that are collaborating on this initiative. For your information, the UCAP network, together with the national CAP networks, promote various regional and thematic clusters. The Mediterranean cluster is one of these, and if I can say, one of the most dynamic, promoting strong collaboration between the various Mediterranean countries. And it is with great pleasure that we accepted the challenge of organizing this event. Today's topic, water management in agriculture, is particularly important for the Mediterranean region. Waterless, climate pressures, and the need for more efficient irrigation system make this debate essential for farmers, researchers, technicians, and also public decision makers. Our aim today is simple, yet ambitious, to present practical solutions, innovative projects, and transferable experience that are already making an impact in various Mediterranean countries. We want to inspire, connect, and open doors to new collaborations. Today, our guests represent different agriculture approaches. We will share best practice in olive, rice, and avocado productions, as well water management in rural areas. I would like to thank the project representatives who accept our invitation to share their work today. Your availability to participate in this moment of knowledge transfer is essential to inspire new ideas and reinforce cooperation between Mediterranean territories. Finally, I would also like to thank the national CAPs networks and the UCAP network who collaborate with us in organizing this webinar. From the Spanish network, Sandra and David, from the Greek network, Nico and Sofia, from the UCAP network, Cristina, and from the Portuguese team, we have Ana and Rosario. A big thank you to everyone for your commitment and collaboration which have made this first event possible. And to everyone, I wish you a wonderful webinar. Thank you so much.
So now it's my turn. Good morning, and I'm Rosario from the Portuguese CAP Network. I'd like to let you know, first of all, that this session will be recorded. So if you don't agree with it, you can turn off your cameras. And now I'll hand it over to Cristina, who will explain how can you ask questions during the webinar. Cristina?
Thank you very much, Rosario. Indeed, so I will be sharing in the chat a couple of resources that I think will be useful for everybody. So the first one is going to be the link to an icebreaker exercise just to learn who is with us today in this meeting. So I'm adding in the chat the link to this Mentimeter, that is a platform that we use. You have the link that you can click on it. You also can join from your phone in www.menti.com and enter the code in the chat, or you can scan the QR code that you can see on your screen. So I will let you connect, and when I see that it's many of us, I will show you some of the results, but this is just to see who is in the room and learn from you. For the first question, and I still will leave you some time to join and answer the questions, we ask whether in the last year your region experienced water scarcity or excess of water. And we can see that for most of the countries, it was not just the right amount of water, but you experience either some drought, some floods, or even both on the same year, which I think it's quite representative of the countries and the examples that we will see today and how to manage that correctly. Also, we are interested to learn where you are coming from anywhere. So we can see that there is a good representation from Mediterranean regions. Most of you come from a Mediterranean region and some of you don't. But let's see the countries that you are coming from. Most of you are coming either from Portugal, Greece, or Spain, and these are going to be the countries from some of the projects that will be presented today. But also some of you are coming from Finland, Italy, even Australia, Brazil, Sweden, Cyprus, Croatia, Estonia. And I think those are most of it. And this shows that indeed this topic is quite interesting, not only for Mediterranean regions or countries, but it really affects, or it's interesting for many countries, not even only from the EU. I think that this is setting the scene of who we are and who has attended the webinar today. And now I will show you how you can ask questions to the presenters, because that's going to be the most interesting part of the day. So I'm adding in the chat a link to a tool that we call Padlet. I'm going to share my screen. And in here, you can ask questions per presentation. We will have in total 4 presentations. And under each, so we will have 1 column per presentation. Under each column, you can ask directly the presenter a specific question, and they will reply directly in this tool. Please do not use the chat for specific questions, rather use this Padlet tool. And some of your questions will be also addressed orally. But since it's many of us today, please let's try to be efficient and add it directly here in Padlet. The way you can do it is by clicking here on post, and you have the link to access it on the chat. And then you can add your question directly. You can address it to any of the speakers by adding it to specific columns. I hope it's clear, but if you have any specific questions about Padlet, you can add this question in the chat.
Thank you so much, Christina. And it's great to see where everyone is watching us from. So without further ado, I'd like to hand the floor to our first speaker, Kaylee Hart, policy analyst at EUCAP Network, who will present a strategic overview entitled Improving Water Resilience in Rural Areas. Kaylee, thank you so much for joining us today. The floor is yours.
Thank you so much. Hopefully you can see my presentation. Is come up, has it? Good.
Yes.
So
Yes,
thank you so much for inviting me to speak today. So yes, I work for the EUCAP network and mainly focusing on environmental and climate aspects of the CAP. What I want to do this morning is give you a brief overview of some of the issues surrounding water resilience, water management, and then present some of the findings of a thematic group that we held in the autumn of last year on improving water resilience in rural areas through the CAP. So let's see, yes. So just a bit about, I'm sure you're all very aware of this. Obviously water stress is significant and is of increasing concern across the EU, and there are very few places in Europe that are not potentially affected in the context of climate change. And agriculture is identified as the most significant pressure facing water resources in the EU, both in terms of abstraction and in terms of consumption. As you can see from the graphs there, EU agriculture is responsible for about 30% of total water abstraction, second only to to electricity production, but it is the largest consumer of water, and that's because the water used by crops and livestock evaporates and it doesn't return to the environment to the same extent as it does perhaps in other sectors. But of course there are wildly different contexts across Europe. So agriculture in the Mediterranean is responsible for about 60% of water abstraction and 74% of water consumption, and it has the highest share of water used for irrigation, and that is only set to increase as drought impacts become more significant and more frequent. And in terms of risks, this is not insignificant because the European Central Bank has estimated that up to 30% of gross agricultural output is at risk in southern European countries. And the EU's recent climate risk assessment flags as critical the risks to crop production in southern Europe from heat waves and droughts. So there are a range of things that you can do across sectors, across regions, including water efficiency, water saving measures, wastewater reuse, but also natural water retention measures like putting in place green infrastructure and looking at ways, different practices for managing the land, for example. But what we have to remember is that water is a shared resource and water resources are interconnected. So you have to understand that if you consume it somewhere, it's not available elsewhere. So if you impact it in somewhere, the impacts can affect the water cycle, if you like. So if you're looking, for example, at increasing wastewater reuse to agriculture, that reduces the discharges that might return to rivers and maintain downstream flows. And if you try and increase water efficiency, that reduces any water that's lost to the environment through percolation, for example, and that can affect the groundwater budget and eventually groundwater flows supporting rivers. So we just, it's not to say that any of these things shouldn't be done, but it's just to understand and be aware of the implications. And with this slide, this project Merlin, it was a Horizon project. This flagged the importance of using nature-based solutions to reduce the vulnerability of farming and rural areas more generally to dry spells, to reduce drought and flood risk to rural areas and larger urban areas downstream. And what it was really trying to show was that if you increase the sponge effect of the landscape, so increase the ability of the landscape to take up water, then you increase the resilience at a landscape scale.
Very specific, perhaps, efficiency issues. So just to say,
this water in the landscape is just as important as some of the other technological issues. And of course, these nature-based solutions also have other benefits, for example, in relation to health and well-being, biodiversity, and also climate mitigation. So just a little bit about the thematic group that we had at the back end of last year. We were brought together about 40 people from 20 countries and people from EU stakeholder organisations as well. And we were looking at how best we could use the CAP's potential to improve water resilience in rural areas and in order to enable rural areas to withstand climate extremes better. And we were looking at sharing with each other what the most beneficial actions and approaches had been in different member states to improve water resilience and how the CAP could best support that to upscale and incentivize uptake. And what we did as part of that was we collected a lot of practical examples and initiatives from the members and shared those amongst us, and we will be producing let me show you the outputs from. So we will be producing a compendium of good practice examples. Well, in fact, we've produced it, but it's not quite published yet. So we're hoping in the next few weeks that that will be available online. And there's a whole series of different examples in there that that you can have a look at. Some of the examples I wanted just to share with you, just to give you a flavour of what's in this document, essentially. So it gives you, because it talks about a whole range of different examples of different types of things that you can do to improve water resilience. And the first one that some of you will be familiar with is the Greek Eco Scheme, which is all about trying to promote different types of crops that are more climate resilient. And the aim of that is to reduce irrigation demand, increase climate resilience, but also to support biodiversity. And there are two different types of actions that have been put in place: cultivation of winter cereals and winter legumes as alternatives to water-intensive crops like maize or alfalfa and cotton. And the second option is some more innovative and resilient crops, including aromatic and medicinal plants. So there are other countries that are also doing interesting things. I know in Spain, for example, also using a range of CAP measures to support different types of cropping systems, so that you're actually trying to support those crops that require less water in their life cycle, if you like. There are a couple I just wanted to flag here, which are all about nature-based solutions. One from Spain, which is in Castilla-La Mancha, and this is where this estate is being used as a living lab for agroecology and forest restoration, to show how agricultural production and forest management can go hand in hand to enhance biodiversity, ecosystem services, but also climate and water resilience. And what they're trying to do is put in place a network of what we call these sponge landscape features, which are designed to retain, infiltrate and redistribute rainwater across the site. And they're also putting in place some rainwater harvesting type actions, so that they're collecting water from the farm's roof areas. They collect that via the guttering, and then they direct that onto the land where it's most needed. They're also planning to restore a previously drained wetland. That's something they have in intention to do this year, which would increase the benefits of the area in terms of its water resilience. And they have already seen in the last few years benefits in terms of increased rainwater infiltration onto the land, reduced surface runoff, and improved soil moisture content across the estate. The second one here is from Croatia, and this is where they're working to restore the natural dynamics of the Drava River. They're trying to improve groundwater recharge and soil moisture, as well as biodiversity and ecosystem services linked to the habitats that run alongside the river. And they're also in the process trying to build the awareness of local communities to encourage responsible water use. And the intention is that the works that they do should also contribute to better flood protection of the villages and the towns alongside the Drava River, and so hopefully that will also improve the recreational value of the area for local people as well. And there were other examples that came up. There's a very good example in Romania, for example, where there were issues in a local community related to where they were lacking water. They'd had a big drought, but they didn't know how to go about it. And this was a really nice example where they had, through LEADER, funded a field visit to Slovakia to an area which had experienced similar issues, and they looked at what they had done, and then they took those lessons back to their local area into in Romania, and started to realized it wasn't as difficult as they had thought maybe, and started to adopt those measures in their local area. Now, there are also technical solutions. I didn't have any nice pictures here, so I'm afraid, so sorry about that. But the sort of technical solutions include water harvesting systems, the reuse of water, that's happening in a number of countries, and improving the efficiency of irrigation networks. That's quite a common action that happens in a number of countries. And then finally, obviously, advice and capacity building, absolutely essential. And that came up in most of the countries that we were talking to. And I just highlighted this, this example in Spain, which is has been developed to help farmers plan precision irrigation, monitor their consumption, and detect water losses and inefficiencies, particularly in relation to the olive oil production cycle. So just to give you a bit of a flavour of some of the examples that are in this document. And then just my final slide is when we were talking in our thematic group, one of the final questions was, well, how do we really scale up action on water resilience, and what needs to happen in order to do that? And this is just a summary of some of the key points that they made. So I think first and most important is around strategic planning and governance, and trying to make sure that we have this a landscape scale approach to dealing with water resilience. Collective action and engagement is necessary and at all levels, and that means from the local to the national to the local to regional to national and EU level. And making sure that we have stability in the policy framework and a strong baseline, so that we have a long-term vision for where we want to go. I think another thing that's really important is this holistic approach. So making sure that when we're thinking about water resilience, we're not just thinking about water, but we're thinking about the whole ecosystem. We're thinking about the soils, we're thinking about the biodiversity, we're thinking about how the landscape works at a catchment scale, for example, looking at these sponge effects and nature-based solutions. And then making sure that the funding is available. And this point comes up a lot in many of our thematic groups, that if we really want to make a change, we need to make sure that funding is available over a longer time frame. 10 to 20 years for water type activities is really important, and in order to do that, perhaps we need to bring in additional sources of funding to work alongside the CAP and other public sources, but we need private investment as well. And then finally, of course, demonstration, advice, knowledge, these are all really important, particularly making sure that we have good demonstration sites that facilitate peer-to-peer learning, peer-to-peer exchange, but also important to make sure that the quality of the advice that is given through advisory services is up to date, has the latest information, the latest technology, for example. So making sure that the trainers are trained to give them that quality, to make sure that advice is of the highest quality, is really important to enable that transition to greater water resilience. So I think that's all from my side, and happy to answer any other questions in the chat or on the Padlet site. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kaylee. So as Kaylee was saying, if you have any question for her regarding her presentation, you have the link for the Padlet on the chat. Christina will share it again. And you can put your questions there, and Kaylee will be answering there as well. So we now move on to second case study from Spain. Professor Juan Garcia from the University of Granada will present Hidrolivar, which focused on efficient water management in olive groves, a crop that is emblematic for Mediterranean and particularly vulnerable to water shortage. So, Professor Juan, thank you so much for joining us. Please go ahead.
Okay, thank you to you, Maria. Thank you very much. How are you? One moment, please. I'll try to share my presentation. Okay, it's fine. On the screen. And now, what? What happened? Are you sharing my screen? Do you see my screen?
Yes. So now we see the presentation
And
in
now?
presentation mode. Yeah.
Okay. One more, please. Well, good morning, everyone. My name is Juan Manuel Martín García. I'm from the University of Granada, from Spain. First of all, I want to acknowledge Red Pack and Sea of the Mediterranean for inviting me to this event. I'm sorry, I apologize for my English, I know, but my English is not important. The important thing is the hydroinfiltrator. Well, I would like to present you Hydro-Olivar, a practical solution to combat drought in olive grove. As Kylie said, the hydroinfiltrator is a nature solution for a nature-based solution.
Juan, sorry to interrupt you. We are seeing your notes. Yeah, I don't know if you can switch the presentation to.
Sorry. Wow. Well, so how can okay.
Yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Okay. Sorry. Well, to introduce the idea, I start with a short video. Okay. Well, sorry. In Andalusia, olive groves face several environmental challenges. We observe significant water losses, both in rainfed system and in drip irrigation orchard. In addition, fertilizer can be lost, and soil erosion is also a big problem. How to prevent water loss? One of the techniques used by farmers is the microbasin, a small basin made above the olive tree. The objective of the microbasin is simple: to capture runoff water and to allow it to infiltrate near the tree. But over time, the microbasin can develop a depositional crust. This crust reduces infiltration capacity. For example, infiltration may decrease from 45 liters per square meter per hour in normal soil to only 1 liter per hour when a depositional crust forms. To address this problem, we developed the hydroinfiltrator. You can see this in the picture. A device patented by the University of Granada. The idea behind this system is to facilitate deep water infiltration and improve water storage in the root zone. The hydroinfiltrator is mainly made of biochar, a material capable of absorbing up to 5 times its weight in water. But the most interesting effect of it is not water absorption. Hydroinfiltrators change how water moves through the soil. The hydroinfiltrator promotes the formation of preferential pathways. These pathways allow water to move more easily toward deeper soil layers. To have a better understanding of this process, we need to look at how roots interact with the soil structure. Roots reshape the soil structure. They create aggregates and voids that increase soil porosity. In fact, the root system itself can store large amounts of water. An interesting phenomenon occurs when soil dries. Roots shrink, creating gaps between the root surface and the surrounding soil. These gaps are highways, allowing water to move throughout the root system. You can see the gap. Okay. So, when rain or irrigation water reach the hydroinfiltrator, water enters the soil through this preferential pathway. Water infiltrates deeper, evaporation loses and decreases, and the root system receives water more efficiently. In drip irrigation, this is very interesting. In drip irrigation, the hydroinfiltrator helps introduce water deeper into the soil. This makes irrigation more efficient. This is ideal for deficit irrigation strategies. Another important advantage is that the hydroinfiltrator can also be used to deliver nutrient or biological treatment directly to the root system. So the device not only improves water management, but also improves nutrient efficiency. To evaluate the effectiveness of the system, we carry out an experiment in Baena, Spain, in rain-fed olive groves. This slide shows images of electrical resistivity tomography before and after irrigation through the hydroinfiltrator. After irrigation, we can see how water enters the soil through the device and then spread through the root system. So the hydroinfiltrator is the entry point of water, while the root system are the distribution network. Well, this slide is very interesting. In rain-fed olive grove in Alcaudete, Spain, Cortijo del Viento, with or without hydroinfiltrator, we put a probe. You can see the probe at the bottom of the image here. We can put a probe near the hydroinfiltrator, more or less 20 centimeters long, and in an equivalent position for the control. The control don't have any hydroinfiltrator. This probe make measure of soil water content each 10 centimeters. Also, we put a rain gauge in the plot in order to take the amount of precipitation. As you can see, in every stone, when we have hydroinfiltrator, the water content reach more value, higher value. The water content increase near the hydroinfiltrator. This doesn't happen in the control unless in March. In March, you can see the rain is very heavy. When in this period, 200 liters fall, and then the water reach the deeper zone of the soil. We made a tomography in the control before and after this period. The same for the hydroinfiltrator. The amount of water storage in the system with the hydroinfiltrator was high. When we analyze drip irrigated olive grove in Deifonte, Spain, in deficit irrigation condition, the results were amazing. As you can see at the bottom of this slide, the best option was making a microbasin, putting an hydroinfiltrator in it, and putting the dripper in the hydroinfiltrator. In this way, we collect runoff water in winter and drink water in the irrigation period. In this slide, we can see the control treatment, where irrigation was applied only through the dripper. This was the reference scenario for comparison. When we introduce the hydroinfiltrator together with the drip irrigation, this is better for the system. In this case, irrigation water enters the soil just in the root system. You can see at the bottom, right, the amount of water was high. In this slide, we can see the combined system. This is the best one, including drip irrigation, the microbasin, and the hydroinfiltrators. This maximizes water capture, water infiltration, and water storage in the soil. In summary, the humidity probe data confirm that the hydroinfiltrator improves soil water content in rain-fed and irrigated systems. Finally, the hydroinfiltrator has other potential applications. It could be used in tree olive crop, reforestation, and even urban environment. And thank you so much, and I'm sorry for my English. Sorry.
Thank you so much. It was perfect. Your English is good.
No. Well,
it is.
I'm sorry that you understand me.
Yeah, good enough for us to understand. So yeah, it's great. Thank you so much again for being here today. And for all the participants, if you have any questions for Professor Juan or for Kaylee, please remember that you can post them on Padlet and they will answer there. Next, we head to Greece with, I'm sorry if I mispronounce your name, Dr. Dolgeris. He is a researcher from the Soil and Water Resources Institute, and he will present Rice Envy Flow, a project which develops innovative solutions for water management in rice production systems, a culture that we know requires high precision in use of water resources. Thank you so much for being here today. I'll give you the floor.
Thank you. Everybody from Greece, from Thessaloniki. I don't know if you can you see my presentation?
You just need to put in presentation mode.
You can see it, but it's not in presentation mode.
No.
Okay. Is it okay now?
Yes, now it's fine. Thank you.
Okay, okay. So good morning from Greece, from Thessaloniki. I would like to congratulate the network for this initiative to organize this webinar for irrigation water management, which I think is one of the hot topics for agriculture and environment in the Mediterranean basin. I'm Charalambos Doulgeris, that's the right pronunciation of the name. I'm a researcher at the SWRI of the Hellenic Agricultural Organization, and usually work in management and simulation of water resources with emphasis on environment, irrigation, water, and deficit irrigation. And today I'm going to present the RIC EnviFlow project, which is the full title, as you can see, is Irrigation Water Management in Rice Crop to meet the environmentally minimum river flow. So the RIC EnviFlow project was implemented in northern Greece, in Central Macedonia, for 2.5 years with a collaboration of 5 partners. Our institute, SWRI, who coordinated the team, an experienced rice farmer that provide us invaluable contribution to the operation of the pilot field, 2 agricultural cooperatives who enhance and smooth the dissemination actions of the project, and an environmental organization who provide us with specific knowledge on environmental flow requirements of Axios River. The project was funded by the Rural Development Program, and for those who are interested in more info, a project website is also available. First, a few things about the hydrological basin of the project, the Axios River Basin. The key water body is Axios River. It is a transboundary river that enters to Greece from North Macedonia. Axios River has sufficient water potential, but also substantial water withdrawals, especially during summer at the peak of the irrigation period. From this table, we can see that irrigation has, we can say, the lion's share. It's almost 90% of the uses of the water consumption, and usually conflicts with environmental needs, as will become clear later in the next slides. Irrigation water in the Axios Basin is used for various crops like cotton, corn, but mainly for rice. And we may see here in this graph the rice area evolution in the collective irrigation system of the Axios sector. We can see that the rice area was double in 10 years, from 2000 to 2010, and remain at this high level for the last 15 years. The reason is because it is more beneficial for the farmers. The net profit is higher than other crops. However, as most of us know, rice requires significantly more water than other crops, often nearly twice as much. And this means that the expansion of rice cultivation in the area exerts and intensifies pressure of the water resources of the area. So having in mind this previous thought, we decided to implement the RIC EnviFlow project. So we worked with a rice pilot field of around 8 hectares. We divided this field in 3 subplots and irrigate each subplot with different amounts of water. So in subplot A, the usual irrigation water was applied by the farmer, what he's doing every year, all these years. In subplot B, 25% less water was used, and in subplot C, half of the water was used compared to subplot A. So we repeat this experiment for 2 years, 2023 and 2024. And for these 2 years, the pilot field was systematically monitoring. For example, the water supplied in each upload was measured after each basin filling using hydrometers. Also, soil samples were collected and plant samples were collected every 2 weeks also. And all the other cultivation practices, fertilization, pesticides application were identically in the subplots, so that the yield was only affected by the irrigation. So here, after the harvest, we noticed very small differences in yield among the 3 subplots, as we can see in this graph. We also saw a slight increase in plot B that might be related to a more efficient activity of fertilizers. But the most important is that in plot C, where half of the water was given compared to plot A, the rice yield decreased only by 5% as an average for in 2 years. So actually this means that rice yield was almost the same by using much less water that is commonly applied by the farmer in the area. So having these very useful results from the experiment, the next step was to upscale the results that we found in the pilot field in the river basin scale. So for that, we used a river basin modeling tool and simulate the water supply from Axios River and the irrigation demand of the collective irrigation systems. As we can see here in the map, each irrigation system, T1, T2, and so on, was included in the model and represents a local land reclamation organization, TOEVA, as we say in Greek. As I said, it's a district irrigation node in the model to understand better in which areas there might be water deficit. We ran the model for 4 years with a monthly time step. Of course, to construct the model, several other data were used, such as river discharge data, climate data, soil and crop characteristics, irrigation methods, and so on. And after running the model, we may see a number of interesting results related to irrigation water management. And here I choose to show the irrigation deficit for the 3 scenario uses. So for scenario A represents that what happens if all rice crop in the river basin apply 100% of the usual irrigation, like the subplot A in the pilot field. And scenario B, what if irrigation uses 75% and scenario C 50%. So we can see for scenario A, the conclusion is that there is not enough water in Axios River for irrigation, and significant irrigation deficit appears in each year. For example, in 2021, the deficit is almost 100 million cubic meter, which corresponds to a 25% of the irrigation demand, which means that crops receive 20% less of the water that the irrigators wanted to use. For scenario B, things are better. The deficit decreased by 60% compared to scenario A. And in scenario C, no irrigation deficit appeared at all for the 4 years. So the bottom line is that these results, we can see that clearly demonstrate that if the commonly used irrigation is applied by the farmers, water is not enough for all farmers, for all irrigators. Here in this graph is the river flow at the estuary of Axios for the 3 irrigation scenarios, plus one more scenario, assuming 0 irrigation in the basin, the no irrigation scenario with the blue line. And we may consider this hypothetical scenario that represents the environmental flow requirements, or the ecological flow if you prefer, at the river estuary. So what we can see from this graph, we can see that from scenario A and B, the river flow is considerably lower than EFR in summer months, which is the peak of the irrigation period. On the other hand, for scenario C, the river flow is higher and in several months closer to the no irrigation scenario, to the EFR, which practically means that scenario C promotes the sustainability, environmental sustainability at the river basin. Approaching the end of this presentation and going to the conclusion, I would like, before that, I would like also to mention that special focus was given to the dissemination activities of RIC-MV flow. For example, meetings organized to exchange opinions between the research team and the farmers and other stakeholders, environmentalists. Also participation in meetings of similar project in Axios, a cross-visit meeting in Thessaloniki last year, and of course promotion of project results through the website and social media, a TV interview, newspaper article, layman's report, and scientific contributions in journals and conferences. From this project, what I think that someone should take home message, let's say, for example, is that RIC-MV flow rise in Thessaloniki plain can be grown safely with less irrigation water than is used today. Of course, an issue emerges as how we will manage this extra water. Are we going, for example, to increase rice crop areas? That would be one option. Or are we going to sustain the environmental integrity of Axios River, or maybe both? Of course, this remains an open question for now and needs to be addressed by the competent water and environmental authorities. In any case, our plan is to continue working on the topic and improve our understanding on other rice varieties and soil types in the on arsenic contamination and nutrients runoff, and to advanced field monitoring. That was all about the RIC-MV flow project. I hope my timing was in line with the agenda, and I would be glad to address any questions you may have or discuss other ideas. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. I think you were just on time.
Okay.
And again, if you have any questions, please remember that you can post them on Padlet. The link for Padlet is on our webinar chat. And I'm very happy to see that we have not only questions, but proposals of cooperation. So that was the main goal of this webinar. So I'm very happy. And our final presentation comes from right here in Portugal. So with Helder Lucas from the National Fruit and Vegetable Operational and Technological Center and Sandra Pires, Technical Director at Hidrosof. They will present the H2O efficient project, which uses advanced technology and monitoring to optimize irrigation in different cultures, including avocado trees. So Helder, Sandra, thank you so much again for joining us, and please go ahead with your presentations.
Thank you. I assume that you are watching the PowerPoint, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. First of all, I want to thank the organization for the invitation for us to talk about the project H2O Efficient 2.0, supported by the Carlos Gulbenkian Foundation. And that's only possible through that support and through the participation of all the partners here listed. So to all of them, our thank you. I want to apologize in advance for my English, isn't the best in the world, so I'm going to stumble sometimes. So for that, I apologize. Here is the link for the website of the project. The project, like the name indicates, is in its second generation. So all the work previously done, all the activities are all recorded in the website. So feel free to check it out. There are also our contacts. So if you want to say something, ask questions, offer some input, feel free. All the emails are welcome. Nowadays, the project has different work streams in different crops. The crops being olives, almonds, palm fruits, and in palm fruits are apples and pears. Also avocados, citrus, and processing tomatoes. And the work streams are mainly deficit irrigation, technologies for water management, wastewater reuse for irrigation, technologies to improve water quality, solving problems like salinity, and study some not new technologies, but recently relatively new technologies like subsurface drip irrigation and micro sprinkling. The crop we were invited to talk about today was the avocado, and the crop was recently added to the project, so we do not have many results. We have some, but not the sufficient to conclude something. But we decided to include this crop in the project because mainly in Europe, generally in Europe, but strongly in Portugal, there is the idea that the avocados have outrageous water requirements for its irrigation. And that's not true. The farmers know that's not true. The agronomists know that's not true, but the general public doesn't know. So the idea to include this crop in the project is to ascertain the real irrigation requirements of the crop and transmit that to the public. And to talk more about that, I'm going to pass the presentation to my colleague Sandra Pires from Hidrosof. They work mainly in the monitoring and management of irrigation. So thank you for your time, and Sandra, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Good morning, all. As Elder said, Hidrosof was invited here as a partner of the H2O Efficient project funded by the Carlos Gulbenkian Foundation. And for this project, Cotton asked us to share and demonstrate our experience on avocado irrigation with partners, farmers, stakeholders, and the society. And that's what I am bringing you today. So I will not make a literature review or show you the results of an experiment because Elder said that we still don't have a lot of results, but I will present measured performance in our customers. Our work is based on agronomic models and continuously validated through large-scale field monitoring. And the central message that we would like to share with you today is that sustainable irrigation must not be just a declaration, must be a measured discipline. So just a quick introduction. We work mainly in the Iberian Peninsula because we have offices in Évora, in the south of Portugal, and in Madrid. But we have customers across the Southern Europe, Africa, and South America. Avocado, we work mainly in the Iberian Peninsula and South America. We are the creators and developers of decision support system software, which is called Irristrat. And Irristrat gathers and processes data from multiple sources to generate optimal irrigation plans. And that's what we sell to our customers, is an irrigation plan. So Hidrosof currently monitors approximately 500 avocado plots across the Iberian Peninsula. And this map shown here represents exclusively avocado orchards under our continuous irrigation monitoring. In each of these orchards, irrigation is modeled, quantified, validated, and technically supported by our irrigation management specialists. So we think this is structured irrigation management at operational scale, and scale matters because the data I will show you is from our experience, of course, and the number of plots that we monitor provides robustness to what I am going to present. So our approach is model-based. At the core is a soil plant atmosphere model implemented in the IRIS-TRACT platform. The model integrates crop parameters, soil hydraulic properties, irrigation system performance, and generates, like I said, irrigation schedules to the farmers. Field monitoring is used to validate and adjust the model dynamically. So in avocado, usually we use soil moisture sensors, soil probes, trunk and fruit dendrometers, water meters, meteorological data, of course, and satellite monitoring through the Agrozone module in IRIS-TRACT. The system becomes complete with continuous technical advisory. Therefore, we are not saying that data should replace agronomy. We say that agronomy can be structured by models and validated by field measurements. Okay, so let's look at measured irrigation volumes on our database. Across monitored avocado orchards in 2025, a year with some spring rain, average irrigation applied was 6,074 cubic meters per hectare. In 2023, under drought conditions and very severe water restrictions, especially in our plots in Spain, average irrigation applied was 4,403 cubic meters per hectare. This number might be also influenced by the age of our orchards, which were a bit younger in 2023. This crop is relatively new in our country. So this represents approximately 27% reduction in water volumes applied. And this reduction was achieved through adaptive scheduling, adjusted irrigation frequency, control deficits, strict monitoring of soil moisture thresholds as well. What I want to show with this example is that water use in avocado production is therefore responsive. When irrigation is model-based and continuously validated, it adapts to the climate variability and water availability conditions without compromising orchard viability. So the recurrent question is whether avocado uses too much water, and the correct evaluation cannot rely solely in cubic meters per hectare. It must consider productivity per cubic meter applied. In our monitored orchards, avocado achieves 1.58 kilograms per cubic meter, which is equivalent to 3.15 euro per cubic meter. This is for average production and average prices for farmers. Considering the same metrics for citrus, and citrus competes with avocado for the same production regions, and that's why I've put citrus here. We have for citrus 5.39 kilograms per cubic meter, which is approximately 2.16 euro per cubic meter. So from a purely physical perspective, citrus produces more kilograms per cubic meter. However, from an economic productivity perspective, avocado generates a greater value per cubic meter because avocado, of course, has greater margin than citrus. In water-scarce regions, sustainability must be assessed through integrated metrics like this: volume applied, yield response, and economic return per cubic meter for the farmers, of course. Okay, avocado is highly sensitive to irrigation mismanagement. It requires high precision, high irrigation frequency, precise application control, strict avoidance of waterlogging, and careful deficit management. Root systems are vulnerable to both stress and excess. I would say very vulnerable. And yield and fruit size respond immediately to irrigation errors. So this biological sensitivity explains the high adoption of irrigation technology among avocado growers. We usually say that precision is not optional in avocado production. The complete irrigation decision support system, including monitoring equipment and technical advisory, represents approximately 1% of production value amortized over 3 years. That's for the equipment that I've mentioned before, with probe, dendrometers, and water meters. So in a crop where irrigation is the primary production risk, this is technically and economically rational. At least that's what we believe. The system provides risk reduction, improved yield stability, quantified irrigation performance, and greater resilience in drought years. So we consider that if irrigation is the main source of variability, decision support is the most strategic point of intervention. So let me conclude clearly. We monitor around 500 avocado plots across the Iberian Peninsula. We quantify irrigation volumes, operate with model-based irrigation management. We validate continuously through field monitoring. We make adaptive water use recommendations. We quantify water productivity in both physical and economical terms. The producers using our systems are not operating based on assumptions. They are applying the most advanced irrigation management tools currently available to them. So my point is, in Mediterranean conditions, sustainability is not determined only by the crop water use. It is determined by how irrigation is managed and whether it is measured. With the H2O Efficient project, we want to demonstrate that the producers working with this approach are doing everything technically possible to guarantee responsible and sustainable water use. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Sandra and Helder. So now that you heard all 4 presentations, and if you have any questions, please be free to use Padlet to put the questions. And if you have any suggestions for topics for an upcoming webinar, or if you would like to learn more about any of the projects, of course, you can leave us a message on Padlet, or you can contact the national networks, and we can put you in contact with the projects. So we will post the slides and the link for the recording of this webinar on the website. And you can find the link on this chat. We'll also will be sending a satisfaction survey via email later, like today or tomorrow. It's very important to us to know what did you think about this webinar, and what are your ideas and needs for future webinars. And now I will ask Nicholas, if you have any questions from Padlet. If you have not any questions yet, I have one for Kaylee.
Okay, there are a couple of questions on Padlet, but okay, it's one question for Juan Manuel Martin. It's what is the suggested density, one device per tree, and what is the lifespan of each device? Should the charcoal be replaced every year, or does it last for more years? This is the question. You can see it, Juan.
Well, I try to answer this question typing, but well, so many questions. The first one, the density of the device, well, is less than 1, because biochar floating in the water. So the density is the same that the biochar. The density. Oh, okay. The density in the plot. Okay, I understand now. The density is 1 for each tree. We must put one of slope, 1 for each tree. And the lifespan is is eternal. The biochar can last more than 1,000 years. So you can't replace the hydroinfiltrator in your life. And the charcoal, no, the charcoal can't be replaced every year because, as I said, they last a long time.
Okay, thank you, Juan. May I ask you a question also, since we discussed about hydroinfiltrator. Did you use this hydroinfiltrator in experimental scale only, or you used in production scale in more?
Well, I don't have figures about the production, but in our plot, in our experimental plot, we can reach higher value of production, even 4 times more production, Another thing very important, very interesting is the use of fertilizer. We use 10% of the fertilizers that we use spreading in the soil. So we save money for the fertilizer. But because the hydroinfiltrator is very young, we don't have figure. We don't have a scientific figure for that. We are now making projects in order to have this figure. Okay. But in our experimental plot, we have a great success.
Okay. Is it easy to use? Is it easy to produce a hydroinfiltrator? Is it easy to produce it?
We have an enterprise here in Spain.
Okay.
Yeah, the hydroinfiltrator. The name is Hydroinfiltrator 2. It's a spin-off of the University of Granada.
Okay, thank you, Juan. Maria, we wanted to ask something to Kelly.
Yeah, so Kelly, well, we know that EUCAP Network promotes many thematic groups and seminars and other activities. How can the participants on this webinar can get involved in a future thematic working group or on any other activities from EUCAP Network?
Thank you. Yes, so we have about 5 thematic groups a year on different topics, and then a number of seminars and workshops and events in addition to that. But particularly for the thematic groups, we always advertise them, and we have an expression of interest process. And so we advertise them on social media, we advertise them on our website, and we also let all the national networks know about the events, plus our contact database. So if you follow us on social media, you should, and on LinkedIn and so on, you should be able to see when those expressions of interest become live, and then you can apply to be a member. I mean, it is quite competitive. The one we're running at the moment, which is on a just transition for the agri-food sector, we had, I think, 210 applicants for 40 places. So we have to, obviously we can't include everybody that we would like to, but yeah, that's the way. I think if you want to be sure, either ask to be put on our contacts database, also look on our social media, and that way you will be able to apply because they're open to whoever wants to apply.
Okay, thank you, Kelly. I see one question for Mr. Gutierrez. Have you monitored the water level at the paddy fields? Have you varied the water level along the cycle?
Yes, I was trying just to answer now this question.
Okay.
No, yeah. Okay, that's okay. No, actually, we didn't monitor the water level. We monitored the water flow, the water volume that was entered in each subplot every time the farmer irrigate. So at the first basin filling, let's say, it was the same amount of water in each subplots. But after that, every 10 days, for example, or every 5 days, then the farmer was trying to irrigate. When the farmer irrigates, then we measured the flow, the volume of the water that entered in each subplots. The 3 subplots were divided, were not connected.
Okay.
Thank you.
I think one more question for you. So I will read it to be more quick. So it's about Albufera. Thank you so much for the answer, Professor Gutierrez. We monitor wild birds in rice fields in Albufera, the Valencia wetland, and flooding during critical biological processes such as the breeding periods is very important. This is why we're interested in knowing how different irrigation patterns interact with wildlife. This is okay. This is answered. And
I just can comment that in this pilot field, because it was flooded, all the 3 subplots, all the time flooded. So there wasn't so great difference between wildlife, but we didn't monitor to be, let's say, in detail.
Okay. And one question for me, if I may. Rice account for I think half of the greenhouse gas emissions from cropland. It's mainly methane. So could you comment on the impact of this management practice in this aspect in greenhouse gas emissions?
No. This is something that we didn't deal with in this project, but we have applied for next for the continue of the project, and we are planning to work there. Yes.
Okay. There is a question for Juan Manuel. What is the cost of the hydroinfiltrator?
Okay, thank you. Sorry, I just answered this question. In Andalusia, the hydroinfiltrator costs 8 euros, only 8. But outside Andalusia, the price is higher. But this kind of question, I prefer to discuss this with the company, with the hydroinfiltrator company. Yeah, the hydroinfiltrator is a device that is patented in all Europe. So in Spain, we have a company, but in other country, I don't have any company. But we can talk with people from each country to make a company in their country.
Okay. Yeah, I don't see any other questions in Padlet. I don't know if anyone want to ask live, raising his hand.
So I can ask a question
Okay.
to Sandra and Elder. I mean, we know that the image that we have for avocado, it's that it consumes a lot of water. So what do you think we can do communication-wise to change that perspective?
I don't know, Elder, if you want to answer, but in my perspective, I think that what we can do is to communicate what the farmers, especially these farmers that are using this new crop and very modern decision support systems to decide on irrigation are doing. I think that's what we have to do to try to communicate to the society. Look, these people are doing what they can. They need to survive and they need to have their margins in the end of the day because this is their business. They live of this. And therefore, they need to irrigate and they need to produce. And in the end, if there is a crop that doesn't use much more water than others, that it is replacing in regions, because from what we have monitored, the difference is not well, I would say not substantial because it's less than 10%, but the margin that provides to the farmer and other beneficial consequences that it has in terms of letting farmers or bringing young people to farming areas that were being abandoned or that were getting very, very old farmers. This must be also considered. I'm a technical person. I'm not going to go into profound thoughts about this, but in terms of the water use, it's not that much different from other fruit trees. And that's what we have to communicate to the public and to the society.
Yeah, and I think a project like yours, it's a start because you can say for sure with data that it's not that different. So we have like 10 more minutes. If anyone has any questions, I don't think you can do it speaking, but if you want to write them on Padlet or on this chat, you can. And if any of our speakers have questions or observations to do to other presentations, please.
So I think that if we don't have any more questions in the Padlet, then we just let these people go to work because we have taken a little of time for always in the morning.
Yeah, so well, with the end of this first edition, oh, we have a question actually. Let me wait.
Okay. You would say it.
Yeah. You can.
It's about Mr. Doukleris. Congratulations for presentation. You have values of methane or monoxide of in Paddy's field.
No, we haven't. As I said before, in this project, we didn't monitor the methane or other gases. But we were going to do it in the next project. something very interesting, of course, because we have the climate change, of course, yes, I know. But no, the focus on this experiment was just to see what's going to happen if less water is used in rice field, because it is something very important in this area. We have a lot of water, but we also have a lot of rice hectares, and they are increasing. Every year they are increasing.
Yes,
So exactly,
rice, it's a very important crop because it has high production. It is very important for birds and for bird fauna, but it's important also for greenhouse gas emissions. Has a big role.
Exactly.
Okay, so I see someone is asking if we will make available the recording, and yes, we will in the website of this webinar. So you have the link on the chat, and we will send an email with a survey, and we'll send the link for the presentations and for the recording. So I think this is it with 5 minutes to spare. Sorry. Too many too many messages popping up. So thank you so much. First of all, to our 5 speakers, and then to our colleagues, the National CAP Networks and the UCAP Network, and of course to all participants. Thank you so much for being here today. We hope this webinar was good for you and inspired new ideas and collaborations to strengthen a sustainable water management in the Mediterranean regions. And we look forward to seeing you at our next webinar. Thank you so much and have a good day.